Hello. Today I want to talk about the first Taylor Swift album. It's going to be like a review, but because I don't have any knowledge of music, actually, it's more like me just talking about it. Because, disclaimer, I'm not a music critic. I don't really know if music is, put well together or produced well or things like that. I just know if I like it. So we're going to talk about that like I did with the Lover album. With the Lover album, it was obviously different because I had listened to it twice and then I did the review. So it was like basically my first reaction to it. Whereas I've heard the Taylor Swift album many, 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 many times, but I've never done a review for it or anything. And I thought now would be a great time. So I'm just going to go through it track by track like I did with the Lover album and talk about it. Again, I'm not an expert, so a lot of this is just like my feelings towards the songs and my thoughts on them. So we'll just start from the beginning. This album is obviously Taylor Swift's first. It's from 2006. And I didn't hear a lot of these songs in 2006. I didn't become a fan of hers really until 2008, 2009. So I had heard a few songs off of Taylor Swift, the first album, but a lot of them I hadn't heard. And I'm not totally sure when I heard all of them for the first time, but I'll talk a little bit about that as we go through it, especially the singles. Of course, I heard those before I heard the album in its entirety. But we'll just start from the beginning. So Tim McGraw is the first song. I like this one. This was the first song that she ever put out, I'm almost positive. And this was the first taste that people got of her. And I think it was a pretty good choice, honestly, as a very first song, because it gets the idea of what her songwriting is like. It's very based on specific moments and specific stories. It's not just like a made up scenario. It's something that happened. It's something that she really felt that really had an impact on her, and she's trying to immortalize that in her songwriting. So I think this is a good taste of that, and it also gets you into the mood of this first album, which is very romantic and very and I don't necessarily even mean romantic as in like a romantic relationship. I just mean like the way that she looks at the world and the way that she goes through life is, putting into a romantic story, making it into something that tells a narrative. So that's what I mean by that. And this is a great story. It's even though, it's a few minutes long song, we're able to get an entire picture of this relationship, of the things that remind them of each other and what their relationship was like, the things that they did together. Um, Obviously they would listen to Tim McGraw songs and they would dance together and they had a really good time. And even though that is over now, they're looking back on that with fond memories. And I think it's really cool to tell that whole story in a song. And she's excellent at that. She's a great, great, great storyteller. And that continues obviously throughout her career, where you have this little snippet of something, but you're able to picture it so well, and it's like you're there. So, of course, this is not my favorite song on the album because it is more country, I guess, than a lot of the songs. I'm not a fan of modern country music. I like Dolly Parton and I like um, a lot of like country ballads, but I don't like, tractor music or anything like that. But her whole first album is definitely a country hint because of the way that she sings it. It's with the country accent, but it's not so country that it would be inaccessible to someone who wasn't a country fan because I love the album and I don't listen to country at all. But this is, of course, very pop-based country. So we have Tim McGraw. It's a good song, obviously. But like I said, not my very favorite from the album, but I do have a very favorite, and we will talk about that. But there are some really great lines in Tim McGraw, to be fair. It's very sweet. It's a very sweet song. And I mean, I'm glad that it was on the album. It's nice. I don't want to spend too much time because I tend to ramble, which I already started doing. But we'll just move on to the next song, which is Picture to Burn. Now, this one I definitely heard before I heard the full album because my sister was actually a fan of Taylor, still is a fan of Taylor Swift, my sister Taylor. But she definitely knew her before I did because Taylor, my sister, listened to quite a bit of country music back in this time. This album came out in 2006, so I was about 12 and she would have been 18. And I don't remember exactly which song, but I remember her talking about Taylor Swift. I don't know if it was Picture to Burn or if it was Teardrops on My Guitar or if it was our song, but I had asked, oh, who's Taylor Swift? I don't know who that is. I don't really listen to country. But the songs that I've heard of hers are pretty cool. Like who is she? Did she win like a singing competition, American Idol, something like that? And I remember my sister Taylor saying, no, she's just that talented. Like she's just that good. She didn't have to go on a talent competition show. She was just able to get attention because she is so talented and because she works so hard and that kind of thing. I remember her saying, obviously I don't know that those were her exact words, but I do remember her saying that like this, she's just really good and she was able to get attention from record labels and things like that. And she's only 16 years old. And I was like, that's amazing. So Picture to Burn is definitely one of the earlier songs that I've heard. It's fun, definitely. I love that it's like sassy. And it's like, you don't matter to me anymore. This is in the past. Who cares? So I do like that. I don't have a ton to say about it really. And also, I'm sorry that I say so much. I ramble and I say a lot. It's a cute song. It's fun to sing along with, definitely. It's very teenage. You're like, okay, I get, she's a teenager. She's writing about this relationship. It's probably not one that, if that was the only song I heard by her ever, I don't know if I would be like, I'm going to check out some more. But it is fun. All right, let's move on. We got Teardrops on My Guitar, a classic, of course. This is the song that I'm sure it was the first song of hers I've heard. I'm pretty positive that it was the first song of hers I heard. And I know it was a hit, and for good reason. It's very pretty. It's very relatable because there's always somebody that you're like, oh man, I wish they would notice me. That really stinks that they have no idea the feelings that I'm going through and things that I am dealing with, and I just wish they would pay attention and notice that. So it's a very, very relatable song, and it's really pretty. It's not too complicated. It's just like, here's how we're feeling, and isn't it a shame? It's sad and it's relatable, and I like it a lot. I'm sorry, I should have like rehearsed or something. It's sweet and it's, again, really puts you in the whole mood of the album, which is that she's this young teenage girl. She wishes that more people would notice her. She wishes that, people had the same feelings towards her that she has for people. And it's so easy to get in that headspace. It's so easy to relate to that, no matter what. I wish that I had, really got onto this album and really got into it when it did first come out, because I'm sure I would have been like, screaming in my bedroom along with this, like singing along and just relating to it. And I mean, I still can, but it sounds like we definitely had really similar high school experiences with like, feeling like an outsider, which we'll talk about when we get to the outside as well. Actually, we'll talk about it now because the next song is A Place in This World. Relatable. Seriously, it's like me and Taylor Swift went through the same things. And I know that so many people feel that way, like listening to her songs, being like, wow, did she live my life? Because she's writing exactly what I was feeling. Like she doesn't know where she fits in the world. She's like, I want to, be important and I want to do stuff and I want people to know who I am, but I don't know what I'm going to do that's going to make a difference or that's going to make an impact. And of course, she's made a huge, huge impact now. But this is her as, a 14, 15-year-old writing these songs. She doesn't know how things are going to turn out. And it's so cool to listen to this now and see like, wow, she's the biggest star in the world. She's changed so many lives. She's so incredibly successful and powerful and awesome. She found her place in the world. So that song is important and I really like it a lot. It's really, really good. And once again, relatable. Next we have Cold As You. Love this one. Love, love, love this one. As you guys all know, she has a real habit of having like the honest, heartfelt, raw songs as track number 5. So this was the first track number 5 that we had, Cold As You. And of course it's heartbreaking because it's like, I've seen so much and I've been through so much, but nothing has been as hurtful as the way that you treat me. And I'm like, that is heartbreaking. Also, one of my favorite things about this song is at the last chorus, how the lyrics slightly change. Instead of saying like, just walk away. There's no use defending words that you'll never say. Instead, it's changed to, it's so condescending. Your smile, condescending smile, something, something, something. What is it? I don't remember. Oh, this every smile you make is so condescending, counting on the stars you made. I love when there's like a slight lyric change or even a slight change in the music or the key or anything like that in the final chorus. And she does that a lot on this album, which is really fun for me. I love that. Having like that variation because it gets like a little bit more emotional as you get towards the end and it gets more of a kick at the end there. I really enjoy that. So I love Cold as You. It's very sad. I like that it's slow and it's heartfelt and it makes you really feel, you really are like, oh, that person sucks. Like they're so mean. They're so mean. And I remember this lyric is really special to a lot of people where it says, you come away with a great little story of a mess of a dreamer with the nerve to adore you. And I agree, that's such an awesome lyric. And I remember people really liking that. Like, even when the album was pretty recent, I didn't much listen to Taylor Swift at the time, but I know people really liked her. And I of course never had anything against her, but just hadn't really gotten to the music. And I was like, wow, that's the cool lyric because it shows exactly how honest and how vulnerable she's being. Like all she did was want to love this person and they took advantage of that. And it gets you into her head and what she was going through. Next, we have number 6. We have The Outside, which is, dare I say, the most relatable song. For me, I think I don't really relate to love songs. I still like them, but I don't really relate to them. But The Outside is like exactly how I thought of my life, especially, during these times. I was in middle school when this album came out. I was 12 years old. And I felt this exact same way. Like, oh, I wish people would pay more attention to me. And I wish that I was in, a crowd in school. Like, of course, I had friends in middle school, but I always had like aspirations of like having a huge group of friends and like everybody knowing who I was kind of thing. And there were a lot of songs that I listened to during that time period that were about that, about wanting to fit in and wanting to have that group of friends. I don't know if I'm sure somebody's going to remember this, but there was a Disney Channel original movie called Read It and Weep, and there was a song for that movie called Outside Looking In by Jordan Pruitt. And if you haven't heard the song, go listen to the song because that completely epitomized and encapsulated my life. Absolutely. And it's like, I go back to middle school anytime I hear that song. And this one kind of does the same thing because it's also about being on the outside of things and watching other people do the things that you wish that you were a part of. So this song is really, really special to me. And something that is pretty cool about it is Taylor actually wrote it when she was 12. So when I was the age of listening to that song and going through those things and relating to that. That's how old she was when she wrote it as well, even though the album came out when she was 16. So we really had very similar experiences, and I'm sure a lot of people in middle school have those same experiences. And that makes me feel, obviously not alone. It makes me feel connected to all of those people who can relate to that as well. And I think that's one of the best things about music is that if you find something that you can relate to and you find other people that can relate to that same thing, that like you're not going through something alone. And I love that. I love that. That's the best part of it all is having the community. So if you feel the same way and you can relate to The Outside, give me a call. Or I just hit myself, but it's just fun to know, that other people are feeling the same way. And that's always been the case. Okay, so we love The Outside. Did I pick out a lyric from here that is especially poignant? I should do that. Well, this is going to sound really depressing, but like no one notices until it's too late to do anything. Like that's an ouchie, right? Like poor everybody that can relate to that, which I mean, all of us can. But it's like now you see, oh, she had a hard time, and wouldn't it have been nice if we had known at the time and could help? But a lot of people don't like pay attention or they don't know what to look for, and it's a shame. Because hindsight is 2020, and like looking back on it, everybody's like, oh my gosh, I could have been nicer in middle school. Me too. Absolutely. I could have been nicer in middle school, but it's so much easier to say that now than when you're actually going through the trauma of middle school, you know? Speaking of trauma, next we have Tied Together with a Smile. So good, so good. Love this one. Um, I definitely didn't hear this one until I got the album maybe. I'm not totally sure, but that was I don't even know when I got the album. It was definitely after Fearless had come out because that's the first one I ever got was Fearless, which I'll make a video about that as well. Um, so I definitely didn't have this first album or listen to a lot of it until after Fearless came out because that was when I like really got into Taylor Swift. But I love Tied Together with a Smile. It's obviously very touching and very poignant. It has a great, 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 great message that everybody sees you as so much better than you see yourself. You know, like you're the one that's being so hard on yourself and you're the one that's being so critical of yourself. And if only you could see yourself the way that other people see you. You know, like you try so hard to put on this facade and to have this image of having it all together and being perfect and being happy. And you don't need to do that because people know that, you know, you have a lot to offer. And even if you're not showing that smile at the time, you still have that to offer. And I cannot tell you how much I relate to that. Absolutely. Because I mean, that actually is more of a high school me than a middle school me because I was so bubbly and like, actually I still am, but so like high energy, especially in the mornings at high school. I would get there and I would just like go down the hallway in school like before homeroom even started and just like visit my friends and be like that peppy bubbly person. And they were like, Madison, that makes my day. Like that is helpful to me to start my day off right. And so I just felt like, you know, that's what I had to do. I mean, some of it was genuine. A lot of it was I just want to get through the day, you know, but this song is awesome. It's, you know, the way that you portray yourself to others isn't necessarily who you really are. And I think that this shows that really well. You're tied together with a smile, but you're coming and done. It's not going to last. You're not always going to be able to put on this facade. And that's okay. You don't have to. I wish I had the album with me. I have the CD, but it's at my mom's house. Like I don't have any of my CDs here. They're all like at my mom's house because I didn't bring them here. Um, well, I really like the metaphor of she's giving her love away like it's extra change. I like that a lot, where it's like it's you just want somebody to care about you in that way. And so you'll spread that love so easily. You'll give that away so easily. But it doesn't mean as much to them. And so they'll kind of just, you know, toss it away, which that part I can't really relate to, I don't think, because I didn't do relationships in high school or anything. But I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be like a romantic relationship. It can just be, you know, you're giving so much of yourself to people and having that relationship or that friendship where it's just you giving, you giving, you giving, and they're not giving anything in return. And a lot of people, including myself, can definitely relate to that because it should be a two-way street. You know, friendship should be a give and a take, and it shouldn't be just all you giving all that you have and them just taking it, you know? So I think that's a very relatable line for sure. And actually, that song reminds me of 15 off of Fearless because it's like the things that you're going through, like the things that you're doing and you're willing to do for people that wouldn't do the same for you in return. Ooh, Stay Beautiful. Excuse me. Stay Beautiful is the next. I really like this one. As you could probably tell by my weird emotional burp. I love Stay Beautiful. It's so cute. I really like a lyric from this song. If you and I are a story that never gets told, if what you are is a daydream I'll never get to hold, at least you'll know. And then I think it goes into the chorus, right? I love that. I remember seeing that online, like the whole quote of that before I had ever listened to the song, ever had the album. This was years ago. In probably like 2011 or something. So I didn't have this album until more recent than that. Because it's 2011 and I remember seeing that and I was like, that's so cool. What is that? Like, what is that from? Because I would see it on like graphics on Tumblr and stuff like that. And I was like, I don't know what that's from. And I would type it in and it was like, Taylor Swift, Stay Beautiful. And I was like, that sounds really good. And so it's like, even if they don't get to be together, even if nothing ever comes of them, it's still important to her that he knows that he has a lot to offer the world and he should stay the way that he is and not let the world change him. I think that's awesome. That reminds me of the Lizzie McGuire yearbook episode where they're like, you rock, don't ever change. Because it's like, don't let the world change you. Be who you are. It's awesome. Like, uh, anything to compare that to? But I think that's I hope, I don't talk to them anymore. We were friends when we were growing up, or we were friends in high school, or something like that. And like, I hope that they're still the person that I knew them as. All right, should have said no. Another one that I definitely heard before the album came out. Probably heard this one when I was like 12 or 13. Or I mean, I'm sorry, not before the album came out. Before I ever heard the album. But yeah, I guess it's probably before it came out. I'm not sure. I know it was a single. But actually, my other sister was into this one. My sister Jordan was into this one. Should have said no. At least I think I'm remembering that correctly. Obviously, this was a long time ago, but I think my memory is correct. And it's so fun and it's so sassy once again, just like Picture to Burn. Um, it's so weird that like I have memories to this because they say that your olfactory senses are the strongest and that is the thing that'll connect you to a memory the most, like if you smell something. But for me, I don't know. I feel like it is auditory for me, especially for music at least. Like, I mean, if I smell something familiar, it will take me back to, where I smelled that or where I had an air freshener like that or whatever. But with the auditory, I feel like, every time I think of Should Have Said No or I listen to that song, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember back when I was 12 or whatever, and Jordan liked this song, and I would sometimes listen to it because she would have it like, I don't know if she had it on her little portable CD player or MP3 or something, and I remember specifically listening to it like in the car. But it's a very fun song. Like if only this boy had been smarter, if you had in that moment not made that impulse decision, things would be different. Maybe you might still have me. That's a fun one for sure, and definitely one of the earlier ones that I heard. I should have like just bought this album when I was younger. I think my sister Taylor had it. I think she had it like in her car, or did she even have a car at this point? It's like my memory is so shoddy, but I think she had it in some sort of form, whether it was like the actual CD or if it was like a burned CD or what. Heard that song for sure. Mary's song. Oh my my my. This one is super cute as well. I really like that it's like, their whole childhood coming up, knowing each other their whole childhood, and people were like, wouldn't it be cute if they got together? And then they did. Oh, that's sweet. I don't have a lot of like deep thoughts about it. I think it's a very, very sweet song. It's very cute. It's got more of that like country um aura as well because it's like they talk about the creek beds and what the song reminds me of? The last song, the Miley Cyrus movie, which I only saw once. But I know they were like in his truck and like having a fun time in the summer. So that actually reminds me of that. Even though they didn't know each other when they were kids, they were like teenagers, but it reminds me of that. Excuse me. That's Mary's song. I also kind of like how they seem to have kind of like a contentious relationship in that song. Like at first they're like picking on each other, and then it develops into like a friendship and then a love. And I think that's cute. Let's do our song. Okay, this one I have more memories to this one because I remember seeing the music video for this in my house. I don't remember exactly how old I was, but I was probably 13. I was either 12 or 13 because we moved out of that house when I was 14. And I remember seeing the music video and be like, oh my gosh, that's Taylor Swift. Like she's so pretty. I thought she was like the prettiest person. Obviously she is gorgeous, but she doesn't look that way anymore. And I mean I think she looks great now. I think she looks better than ever. But I do remember seeing that she's like laying in the flowers, remember? And I was like, wow, I kind of like this song, but even more than that, I'm like, she is just gorgeous. But I actually love that song. Like I listen to it every time it comes on. It's one that like I never skip when it comes on my Spotify or whatever. It's darling. It's very, very cute. I really like the lyrics to that one a lot. I really do. Um, like just talking about all the different things that remind them again of that relationship. It's similar to Tim McGraw in that way. Obviously, musically, it's not that similar, but it's similar in the way of like, here are the things that we went through in our relationship that remind me of you. Like anytime this will happen, I'm like, oh yeah, that's what it was like for us. Something else I really like about this song is the dialogue that is sung throughout it. Like, he says, "Man, I didn't kiss her and I should have." But I always have loved this about Taylor Swift's music, is that she will talk in the persona of the guy, and so it sounds like she's saying it, and she's like, "Man, I didn't kiss her," and I always really like that because I'm like, "Oh, it sounds like she's talking about kissing a girl," and I always think that's fun and cute, and I enjoy that. But it's really a good song. I really like this one. And I can just like picture again. She does such a good job of writing it in like a visceral way that you can absolutely picture it. And you're like, there's somebody at the window right now, and like they want to come inside, but the parents don't know, and so they have to be sneaky. And I just feel like I'm in a movie every time I listen to it, and I can like absolutely picture this whole relationship in front of me. I love that. It's such a cool song. And it's such a cool idea of like, oh, they don't have a song per se that they'll listen to, but all of these sounds coming together is like their song, and like let's hope we hear them all again. I like that so much. Asking God if he could play it again. I love that. That's actually the last song on the normal album, but the normal album doesn't like exist anymore really. Like you can't really just get those songs. You get the extended version, but I want to talk about the extended songs anyway, so I'm excited. But that is the last one on the like regular original album, that when it first came out, which I'm a little bit confused about that whole thing, if I can be honest, because I know that the rest I'm going to talk about is like the deluxe version, but I think there is only the deluxe version now, and I know like some of the words are a little bit different on some of the songs, like Teardrops on My Guitar, like it's the radio version that they have now on the album. Like you can't get the original version where it says it's so damn funny. I think they don't have that one like on Spotify or whatever. It's only the newer version of it. So that's so weird. And then they changed some words to Picture to Burn as well. Because I remember, which is fine. I remember back when it first came out, the words were different. Where I'll tell my friends you're gay, and I can understand how that's not a cool thing to say now. But I do know that I heard that version first, so I don't know how long that one was out before they changed it. I'm really not sure. Another funny thing that I remember. It's weird the things you remember, especially like because I wasn't like a super stan at the time. I obviously am now. I'm so into her music. I'm obsessed. But at the time, I was just like casually listening, and yet I still remember those things. Anyway, extended version. We have "I'm Only Me with." I can't talk. "I'm Only Me When I'm With You." It's so cute. It's so sweet. And I was reading that it's about her friend, which I did not know, that it's about Abigail, who we love. We love her. But I always just assumed because it talks about a boy and a girl in the city, like living in a lonely city, or there's like a journey reference in the song somewhere. I just assumed that it was about a guy, but it's not. It's about her friend, and I think that's so sweet because there are people like you can only be yourself when you're around these people. Not so much anymore. Like I'm pretty much myself around everybody all the time. I am who I am, and I'm unashamed about that. And I just quickly jump into like a friendship with people, and I don't really put on airs anymore. But when I was younger, for sure, like you don't say the things to people that you've just met that you're gonna say to your best friends, and you don't mess around and be as honest and as open as you do with people that you're really close to. So I can definitely understand this song, and it's very sweet. It's like if you're sad, I'm sad. I'm going through the things that you're going through because we're best friends, and that's so sweet. I love it. Very sweet. Invisible is next. I love this song. Love this song. I definitely heard this one before I had the whole album. I heard it on YouTube. I don't know like how it came up. Because I know this is funny because I remember listening to her song "I'd Lie," which is an unreleased song as far as I'm aware. Like it's not on. I know it's not on any of her albums, but it was like during this era. I think I don't know if it was the first album or the second album that it was like an unreleased song, but I remember like watching iCarly videos on YouTube, and like one of them was I'd Lie. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is a good song. Like maybe I like Taylor Swift. And I think at the same time, Invisible came up, I'm pretty sure. And like I would watch the lyric video and be like, oh, like she gets me, like this is great. I love Invisible. It's so darling. It's a lot in terms of story. It's a lot like You Belong With Me because they're both songs about like, oh, you're with this girl and it's a shame because I'd actually be better for you than that girl is. So in that vein, they're very similar songs. But I like Invisible more than I like You Belong With Me. I don't know if that's sacrilege or something. I don't know, but I like Invisible better, even though like it's not a single and it was on only the extended version of the album. It's just like prettier. It's prettier, and I like the slower um I like the slower songs, a lot. But another reason why I like it better is because Invisible is so much more about how like I wish that you noticed me. Like, you're not seeing me at all. I would really be good for you if you saw that I was here. Whereas You Belong With Me is like, I'm better than this girl. She's no good for you. I'm better. And like, they do sort of have that in common, but Invisible isn't like, these are the things that she does, do, and the things that I do are better. She isn't going to see the version of you that I see. I see the best version of you, and she doesn't. Like the specific. There's a fire inside of you that can't help but shine through. She's never going to see the light, no matter what you do. So, no matter how amazing you are, and how wonderful you are, and how much you shine, this girl is not going to notice. I notice. I'm being Taylor in this moment, but she's not going to see it. Like you can do your very best, and you can be, the perfect guy. She's not going to appreciate it. She's not going to see all that you have to offer. And so many of the songs on this album are about that. Whether it's about people not noticing what Taylor has to offer herself, or people not noticing what her friends or the people at her school or people that she knows, what they have to offer. Like there's so much that these people are dealing with and so much that they're going through that nobody ever knows about. And that makes perfect sense that the album would be about that because it was written when she was 12, 13, 14 years old, mostly written her freshman year of high school. Like these are the things that you're going through. Absolutely. It's like nobody understands you. It feels like, because people aren't as open and honest about how they are feeling. This is a hard time for people. It's a scary time. And you don't want to be ridiculed. You're so afraid of like being made fun of and not fitting in and those kinds of things. So it's hard to be open and honest about that, except for, if you're writing a song, like you can get your feelings out that way. And I think, that's actually what she did. And she talks about this a lot, but how her songwriting is her diary. That's how she processes her feelings. That's how she processes her emotions and goes through things. Um, a lot of people write in a diary. I used to write in a journal when I was younger, and like this is how you process the things that you're going through and make sense of it. And she does that by songwriting. And if you look back, like I have the journals, the Lover journals, so it's like her diary entries from some of them are from this age, and you completely see like this is how she was feeling. Like I remember one of the entries talks about the song, The Outside. Like she's like, oh, I just wrote this song, The Outside. I don't know if anything's gonna come of it. She's 12 or 13 or whatever. She doesn't know, if it's gonna end up being anything. But it's on the album, and I think it's so good that it is because it shows. I mean, there's not a ton of albums out there that are written from like literally a 13, 14-year-old girl wrote this. So this is such a good album for that reason because you can get in her head and know the things that she's feeling and relate to them. And I just love that. Tangent, but I love that song, Invisible. Okay, we just have one more. We have A Perfectly Good Heart, which is very nice, very sweet song. Again, I don't think if this was the only song I had ever heard by her, I'm not sure that I would seek out the rest of her music. I'm not sure, but it is definitely a good song. Like it is one of her first songs, I guess, that really shows like you didn't treat me the way that you should have. We're not together anymore because of that reason. I was this person who had this idealized version of life. I saw everything through rose-colored glasses, and a lot of her songs, like from Fearless and Speak Now, I feel like speak to that of having this great romantic notion. I spoke about this a little bit earlier. She sees life in a very romantic way, like in a narrative, and this one is like, why would you want to be the person to change that? Why would you want to be the person that shows me that the world isn't Rosie and Rainbows and Sunshine? Why would you make the mark on me that shows that, you know, the world can be ugly and the world can be cruel? Why would you want to break a perfectly good heart? But some excellent songs came out of that, you know. That's actually the whole album, because there's technically one more song, but it's Teardrops on My Guitar pop version, which is not necessary. And that's fine. I mean, I'm not like angry that it's included or anything. I am such a fan of pop music, and that's what I tend to listen to is pop music. But I can definitely listen to the original version of Teardrops. Like, I don't need a more upbeat, up-tempo, poppy version. I don't need that. And they did that with a lot of her songs. I remember they did that with Mine as well later, where they made like a more poppy version as a single. You don't need that. You don't need that. Just keep the original version. It's quite poppy already. Like, it's not like it's hardcore country. Is that a thing, hardcore country? But um, that's the album, because I don't think we need to talk about the pop version, except for that it's, you know, it's there. It doesn't need to be there, but I'm not like enraged that it's there. So my favorite song on this album. Oh, good question. Nobody asked. My favorite song on this album. I think I'm gonna say Invisible. I think I'm gonna say Invisible. Um, but if I have to pick one that's not, because that one, of course, that's a deluxe one that was not on the original album that came out. Probably the outside. Because, like I said, it's so exactly the feelings that I was feeling, completely 100%. So, probably the outside. And I do wish that I had listened to this album when it first came out, you know, in 2006, because I would have been like, she gets me like nobody else gets me. You know, I used to listen to Simple Plan a lot. Actually, when I'm younger than this, when I was like 8, 9, 10. Avril Lavigne and Simple Plan. I was like, they get me. They completely get me. But if I listened to this, that's how I would have felt about this for sure. So it's such a good album. It's, you know, obviously not my favorite of hers by any means. It actually might be my least favorite. I don't know. Either Fearless or this is my least favorite of hers. But I still love it, and I still listen to all the songs. And I just listened to it so I could do this review, and it's really good. And I hope that you guys like it. And please let me know your thoughts and what your favorite song is, and if I did an okay job analyzing the themes of it all. And I'm really sorry this is so long. I am a rambler, especially when I'm talking about things that I like, and this is something that I really like. So have a fantastic day, and let me know what you think of the album and of this video. Thank you so much. Bye. Mwah.